All right, guys, I think we're just going to go ahead and get started here. As I mentioned, I am going to go over some Bitcoin analysis. We'll take a look at the DXY as usual. We'll open up the indicators, kind of take a look at what they're saying on many different time frames. We'll even hang out on some degen time frames. Maybe some sort of a trade setup will catch our eye or something like that. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about the indicators while I'm going forward about how they're set up, what they do, I might not have all the answers, but I'll do everything I can to answer whatever I can for you guys. Most of it is pretty straightforward, so yeah, we'll take a look at a few different things there. Just starting things off here, gonna take a look at my weekly Bitcoin chart here. You guys may know this as my Bitcoin cheat sheet. It has proven wrong in the past when I thought that the bottom was set back here in June. And one thing that is worrying me about the price a little bit for Bitcoin is the fact that we're not getting back above that previous low we set in June there. Right now, we're getting several weekly candles closing below that level. So I really don't like to see that. I really would have liked to see us kind of close down below this line and get right back up immediately, kind of looking at more of a fake out in that kind of a sense. But right now, it's looking like that line is still definitely a level of interest for the market. We're going to have to see if we even get right up there. We're going to have to see how the market reacts to that. One thing that is decent, and I know I mentioned it in my previous video, I've had this green box outlined. Basically dating back to our 2017-2018 market cycle top there, with a little bit of structure there. And as well, on our way up, we actually had this little month of consolidation on the way up. One of the only times the trend actually paused there on this parabolic run. So there is a little bit of structure to be considered within this green box here. So that is good that, yes, we did get below it very briefly, but this is looking like a bit of a fake out. The fact that we kind of got some doji candles closing right along the bottom of that box, maybe there is the chance that this is a significant area and maybe this would actually be some kind of a reversal. I know this would catch a ton of people off guard because people were either thinking that the bottom was in here, such as myself, to be completely honest. And then other people who are really waiting for that 14K, 10K before they dollar cost average any sort of position in or anything like that. If we were to stop here at 15.5 as a bottom, I mean, that would just be a weird spot. This is really the only kind of reason that I can find why it would be a potential reversal point, just because of this little bit of structure we have from our previous market cycle here. So we're going to really have to see how this acts. I mean, this weekly candle is going to close in about 3 hours, just a little more than 3 hours. Looking pretty indecisive right now. Once again, just a bit of a doji candle looking very undecided rather. So yeah, we're going to have to see what happens there. Like I said, I do not like that we're below these June lows here. Really sticking down below those levels. Also bringing up the 200-week moving average here. Bitcoin has never, ever been below this for such a long time. I mean, I can go back. I know I've talked about this in previous videos. Usually anytime we get to that 200-week moving average, it provides just absolutely beautiful support. It was the very bottom of our last bear market. Even with COVID, we had this initial panic and it did actually send us below that 200-week moving average, but you can see we did just have that little fake out. We closed right back up above it, and that just started off our parabolic bull market right there. Even going back to our previous bear market before that, this is when there was finally enough data in the Bitcoin chart.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Bitstamp chart, so it's the longest one that I can find. And yeah, basically ever since there has been enough data to bring up this moving average, we've been trading above it. I am just going to turn down CoinFusion's volume there just for a minute. You just have a little bit of background noise there, which is fine. Just if anyone's having issues with that, you can manually mute people. I'm sorry, I will totally try to remember to unmute you. If anybody is asking questions on the mic and I'm not answering, hit me up in the chat box that is in this group for the Indicators Live. There is a message box that you can type questions in there as well. So if I accidentally mute someone who's got background noise or something like that, just let me know if I'm not answering your questions or something like that. But yeah, going back to this, like I said, we're below the 200-week moving average. We haven't seen the price respect the underside of this for such a long time, ever. So that's something that I don't want to take too lightly. We don't really have much back testing to go over with when we're trading below this average, since this hasn't happened before. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen there. But just since it has been respected as such good support previously in previous market cycles, it's definitely something that I just want to consider, that, things might be in a pretty rough spot right there. Going to bring up the MDX ALGO 3, start looking into these indicators a little bit here. You can see that it did a beautiful job. I don't have the signals on right now, the long and short signals. I usually look at the other signals with the indicators before I actually bring those up, just because I find it easy to FOMO in if it's telling me long or short or whatever. I prefer to do my own analysis and then kind of start adding signals onto the indicators. But just looking at this right now, you can see that we are trading below this moving average here. We got very close to it there as we were trading. On the shorter time frames, there's other confluences matching up with this. It actually did a very good job calling this top. If I bring up the oscillator 4, you can see we had a hidden bearish divergence. That's what the red H stands for. And as well on the oscillator 5. And those both lined up very nicely with when we were respecting this moving average, just trading just a little bit below that before we had that FTX debacle there. So indicators did a nice job calling that. I wish I would have considered them a little more heavily there, because that, especially with the news unfolding there, that was a beautiful short opportunity. I did not catch that, but that's totally fine. Something I want to bring up to your attention on the weekly chart here is how tight these bands are getting on the oscillator 4. So the red and green on this Bollinger Band here are getting very tight, which leads me to believe that there is going to be some kind of a volatile move coming in the future where these are going to spread out. I'm very curious to see if that's going to be the capitulation down to kind of that 14K, 10K targets that everyone's talking about, or if we're actually going to fake out a lot of people and just start to recover from these levels. Either way, I think a volatile move is coming. It could be a few weeks, because like I said, this is a weekly chart. There's a ton of data here, and these do take time to play out. These divergences and stuff like that do take a long time. Something that's good going for the price of Bitcoin right now, I know I've mentioned in the past my RSI here. In previous market cycles, Bitcoin has not only respected downtrend line breaks, like if we get some sort of a falling wedge or the price breaks out, it's often a very bullish pattern. You can see in the RSI down here, we actually got something very similar. We had these downward sloping trend line. You can see the RSI get oversold on the weekly. That marked our very market bottom there. And then we actually broke out of this RSI downward sloping trend line, and that was just an early warning sign. That happened way back here, and we never started actually starting our bull market. Well, that's what I'm going to consider it anyways. We never really had a bull market in this, so we were just reaccumulating. But this was a very early sign that things were going to start flipping bullish. And you can see that in our previous bear market here, 2018. You can see that we had the exact same thing happen. The RSI got oversold. That marked our very bottom. And then we ended up getting this purple line where we broke out of this downward sloping trend line. And again, just doing a very good job of an early warning sign that things might be about to go quite bullish. And, we did end up getting this. So yes, we are trading a little bit lower at this time. But that's something that I still want to consider, is that the RSI, we had our oversold period back here. We did break out of this downward sloping trend line and even got a little bit of a retest there. And right now, the RSI actually isn't getting back into oversold territory. It is staying in a healthy area. It's looking weak, I'll give it that, but support always looks weak. And that's something that I really want to emphasize right now, you guys. Anytime you're looking to buy support or sell resistance, it always looks scary because it looks like the price isn't going to stop at those levels. Everyone is typically very bearish at support levels and very bullish at resistance levels. So right now, yes, the RSI is looking a little bit weak, but it is technically kind of hovering around that support area, so something to consider there. Oscillator 5, like I said, we had this bearish divergence, but I think that already played out. That was quite a significant move. I mean, we dumped 25% with that signal, so yeah, I think that's already played out. We're going to have to see if we start seeing more bearish divergences. We see this moving average really drop, and we kind of start trading into that and treating it as resistance, something like that. But as it stands right now, I would say not all hope is lost, because like I said, we are still holding onto this green box, and we're going to have to see what happens there. Just going to zoom in a little further. This will be my 4-hour chart here. Once again, this yellow line is going back to our June lows back here. So that's just a line that I'm looking at, seeing if it ends up flipping into resistance. We haven't got back to it since way back here, which would have been, well, what, a few weeks ago already, almost a month ago at this point. But yeah, let's just kind of take a look at what the indicators are saying right now. I don't have the trend confluence right now on the MDX3, just on my 4-hour chart here. I'll bring it up later. This is currently just a typical 4-hour, the TMA or TMZ. Sorry, what was that? Yeah, the TMA moving average set at 10, and I just have it on chart, so it's just giving me the 4-hour confluence on the 4-hour chart here. So you can see that we do technically still have that as support under the price right now, and as well we have this Stotch RSI divergence, bullish divergence, because this little blue dot is below the price, so it's supporting it. We even did get this long signal on the 4-hour, so that's nice to see. Once again, looking a little bit weak. I know we just had quite an interesting little pump and dump right back down and a little further, which I will look at on a more degenerate time frame in a couple minutes here. But yeah, interesting to see that there are a couple of bullish warning signs right now on the 4-hour here. The oscillator 4 is kind of in no man's land right now, just hanging out in the middle of the bands. Oscillator 5, kind of the same thing, hanging out right in the middle, kind of switching between green and red dots, so it's pretty undecided here, so we're going to have to see what happens. Just going to zoom right in a little further here. So this will be my 1-hour chart. And for those of you who have been watching my previous videos, I made this video explaining why I was in a short the other day. And that was, where were we? I think it was when we came back up here. I had mentioned a few things to you guys. For one, I was actually bearish way down here, and I was even in a little bit of a short at this level, but we ended up getting this little fake out here, and I'm actually just going to get rid of the indicator here. We had this very nice failed break right here. You can see this trend line was very accurate, very well respected. We had 2 perfect touch points there. I could probably even just maneuver this just a little bit. Something like that, and we have our 3 perfect touch points. So that's a beautiful trend line right there. And what I was watching for is, since we already had the 3 touch points, I don't like to give a trend line too much credit unless it has 3 exact touch points. And that's where, right here, I was starting to think, you know, if this line breaks and we get a retest, we get that support to resist flip, I'd be very interested in heavily shorting that. But what ended up happening is, like I said, I was in this little short from up here. We ended up getting this little fake out here on a much shorter time frame. I had my alarm set on this trend line. When there's a level of interest I'm watching and I don't want to be glued to the charts 24/7, I set an alarm or an alert, and I will actually set it to once per minute. So every minute my phone is going to harass me until I get my ass off the couch or whatever and take a peek. So yeah, basically that woke me up. I checked this and it turned into just a fake out, even on the 5-minute, guys. I'm just going to zoom right into where this happened. We never even got a 5-minute close below that line. So this was looking like a beautiful failed break, in my opinion. I never actually ended up taking the long there. I did miss this entire move, which is unfortunate, because looking back, Captain Hindsight's always a jerk, and it is clear as day there. That would have been a beautiful position. Not only that, but I know I heard Kieran mention also in his video that he was looking at a different failed break. He had this yellow horizontal line mapped out, and we got the failed break a little earlier actually from that one. So interesting that horizontally and diagonally we got failed breaks there. A beautiful bullish setup there, but unfortunately, like I said, I never took it. I did end up taking a little bit of a short. It was cut short. As maybe some of you guys who were in Kieran's last stream, at the end of it, we just got just random freestyle analysis going on. We were just kind of spitballing ideas back and forth with a few of us. And I was saying that when we were getting up to these levels, we were starting to look a little bit toppy. So I pulled up my handy dandy Fibonacci tool, which you guys know I love. And I love how well the 786 and 886 fibs are respected. And we were starting to get a little toppy right at my 786 fib rejection point. So I was very interested in shorting. We got this little scam pump to the upside here, almost perfectly to the 886. We were just shy of it. But yeah, when we got that little bit of a fake out there, once again, just getting a failed break, I ended up taking a short. I think it was around 17,242 or something like that. I think it was right here. But something else that I was a little cautious about, you guys, is this red box that I have outlined. And I was a little worried that this might actually flip into support, and I could still see the possibility of that. Just because if we were going to trend lower, let's say we were just starting to set lower highs, I wouldn't have expected the price to break above this box. Being we set a low here and a lower low here, I would have expected this point, the highest point between the two, to act as the lower high. And sorry, did I say lower low or lower high here? Either way, lower low here, lower low here, a high and a lower high between those two lows. So if the price was going to remain on a downward trajectory, I would have expected it to get rejected at that level, whether it was an immediate rejection at that level or just a failed break wick kind of a thing and then down. But the fact that we actually got this little double bottom at this area, right at that resistance, flipping into support area that I was just warning you guys about in my last video, it was just looking too risky for me to hold on to my short at that point. So I ended up closing it. And, maybe it kind of... thing that sucks about that is I do see potential if we end up dropping this green line a second time now, and let's say after this time we had that failed break, if we get something like that again, I don't think it's necessarily going to fail again and end up being a fake out and being bullish. I think that since we've tested this line so many times now, if we actually end up closing below this, I think that's where we have potential for an interesting short opportunity once again, especially the fact that then we might end up back down below this red box. So we get down below this green line, retest it as well as this red box. I mean, that would be some beautiful confluence right there that I would definitely be interested in shorting if we do get that. But as it stands right now, I mean, this resistance may have got a proper support flip. We're going to have to see how it goes, if it's going to hold here. I'm just going to zoom into an even shorter time frame here. Going to go into the 5 minute because I know the indicator's actually called a beautiful play there. So this is the 5 minute chart with the 1 hour confluence. For those of you unfamiliar, that just means that this moving average on here is from the 1 hour chart, even though I'm on the 5 minute chart. So very cool feature. That's probably honestly my favorite feature with these indicators, because when I'm trading a time frame, I like to understand what's going on a larger time frame, and this indicator does such a good job of making that very easy and pointing it out to us. So it was interesting to see that just earlier today, that 1 hour trend confluence was actually respecting the top of that box that I was looking for, flipping from resistance into support. I was actually thinking that we might get a very nice move off this level. I was thinking that we were going to get a fairly nice sized pump to the upside there. But the indicator, it still did a hell of a job. It nailed the top of that, the take profit, the overextended trend. It nailed the top of that. So that was very impressive, very cool. The fact that now we're starting to close candles below this trend, the 1 hour trend confluence, I could see it flipping red right away. If that happens, it'll look something like this. It'll go up here and start trending down towards the price. If that happens, I think I am going to have to start looking for some short positions because, like I said, if we end up dropping this green line, let's clean things up a little bit for you. I think there's a chance that we actually drop all the way to this green box down here. And for those of you who don't know what my reasoning is for that, is in my previous video, I just pointed out some fibs there as well. So this time we're pulling our fibs from bottom to top, looking for potential support. So pulling it from the bottom there all the way to the top, if we end up losing this support, I think there's a good chance that we end up testing some of my favorite Fibonacci's. Right now it seems like they're pretty far away, but I really could see the potential for that. Fear is very quick to come back into the markets right now because things are so uncertain in this market right now. And that would just be a regular pullback. That wouldn't be a crazy crash or anything. That's just pulling back to typical fib lines that love to be respected within this market. So yeah, I think there's a beautiful short opportunity there if we can get some sort of a retest at these levels. I think there's absolutely a chance that we trend down, and that would be a very juicy short position to be in if that's the case. Just going to head back to my 5-minute chart. We're going to take a look at what the indicators are saying on the shorter time frames here. Nothing's really came up as far as signals ever since that we did get that 5-minute long signal with that 1 hour trend confluence. Since that take profit, it hasn't flipped anything. So this isn't going to give us a short signal at this point until the 1 hour trend confluence has changed. So like I said, I wouldn't be too surprised to see this flip red and climb up like that now, showing potential resistance. If that happens, it's going to start showing us short signals, and that's something that I'm actually quite interested in taking. Even right now, just the fact that we did, obviously this is very micro analyzing since we're on the 5-minute chart, but we have this low here and we set a lower low here. So currently on a very micro scale here, I'm looking at this as being our lower high right now. So that's another level I would be interested in playing. If we get some sort of a bounce right here, but get a swing fail pattern where we just kind of wick above or wick right to this level and start looking like we're going to get rejected, I would be interested in sniping a bit of a short there. Again, just for the potential that we get this much bigger move to the downside. I think that could be such a juicy position that it's definitely on my radar. In fact, I am going to add an alert to this line. Actually, no, I'm not going to, because that might end up going during my stream here, and I don't want my alert going off every minute for you guys and just annoying you guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Zoom out a little bit here, check what the 15-minute is doing. What would be the entry for the short? Show us how you set the alerts, Stu. Okay, so where I would end up taking a short then, I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. I typically don't preset my orders. I'm not just gonna preset a limit short right now. That's more where I'm looking at. If I was gonna snipe right now, for example, if we do get back up to this yellow line, I want to see how the prices actually respect this level before I enter that position, because there is a chance that we just blow right through this level. I mean, right now we could form some kind of a small degenerate double bottom with bullish divergences on the indicators, and we just absolutely fly past this and then we start trending higher. That is not off the cards, off the table at this point. So what I would want to see in that case is I would want to see a 5-minute candle kind of get back up to this level, touch it or get just above it, and then see a red candle close below it. That's when I would be a little more interested in pulling the trigger on a short. If we don't get that and we end up just trading down from here, that's where I would want to see how the price is going to respect the this green line from the underside, basically. If we end up breaking below it, I would want to wait for some kind of a bounce to get back up and just see what the indicators are saying as we kind of get back up to these levels. Until that happens, I'm not going to set a trade ahead of time, just because I personally don't like setting limit orders. I just like to see the reactions off levels that I'm watching before I actually enter those positions. And how I set the alerts there, I guess that depends if you're talking about the indicator or on my chart. Like if I was looking at entering a position, if we get up to this yellow line, I would just right click this yellow line, add alert, and then I can choose how often it's going to go. Crossing, so basically anytime it taps that line, every minute it taps that line in this case, it would be allowing, or it would be letting me know. If I wanted to set some alerts with the indicator, let's say I want it to let me know when it figures, a long signal should be placed, you can add alert and then select long. One thing I have noticed, I don't know if I had this set wrong or if it's just the way the indicator works with the alerts with TradingView. I noticed that it was warning me that there was long signals flashing way more than I was actually seeing them. So I think I had tried to set it on a 15-minute chart or something like that. And then I think it was giving me the signals every time it was going on the minute chart, because it seemed like it was giving me long signals quite a bit. Either that, or it could have been just that when the long signals flash but the candle hasn't closed yet, it might have just been an early warning sign, and that's why my phone was sending them to me. And then when I'd check, they weren't actually there. That's actually more likely, I think, what was happening there. But yeah, that's how you set alerts with the indicators. You can choose from a different list of things that will happen and trigger your alerts. Yeah, I haven't tested all of these things down here, and these can be used on the ALGO 3. The Oscillator 4 and Oscillator 5 also have alerts. Like I said, I have not tried all of these, so I'm not going to tell you guys what exactly each one does. But the long and short signals are pretty straightforward there. So, the 1 hour Heiken Ashi flipped red. Yeah, so things are starting to look a little bearish. Oh yeah, see, even regular candles here have just flipped red here. Just like I said, I expected it was going to be happening soon. So what we might even have is we might get a bounce up to this yellow line here, and we might have this indicator lining up as resistance there. So gonna have to check for some confluence here in the next few candles. Interesting to see there. But yeah, so that was pretty predictable that it was going to flip bearish because we were starting to close several candles below there. So once you see how it reacts, you do market buy and sells. Yeah, basically I don't click market. I don't do a market order exactly because there is the chance of slippage, and I've had slippage affect my nice positions in turning them into bad ones before in the past. But let's say I want to enter a short, I would just do, let's say I'm like, hey, I want to enter a short right now. Rather than setting a market sell, I set a limit sell, but just below what the price is now. Just so that it does get you in at the exact time like a market order would. But it would just prevent that slippage, so it would only, well, there would be a limit, right? I mean, there would be my limit price set there. So that's personally how I do it. Everyone might do it differently. That's just kind of how I go about doing it. Interesting. So yeah, these bands really spread out here on the Oscillator 4. Again, this is just the 5 minute, but yeah, that was... As these bands open up like that, kind of as I was talking about on the weekly chart earlier, when they start to get so tight together like that, I mean, there's a good chance that they're going to kind of blow up and bring volatility into the markets. And that's kind of what we see right here, even on the 5 minute. I mean, things were getting pretty tightly coiled here on the bands, and then they just opened right up, and we got these, well, a big move to the upside and an even bigger move to the downside. So... very cool. Right now on the 5 minute, we do have this little degenerate double bottom here. Just brighten that up a little bit. So this is technically a very small double bottom, and we do have the Oscillator 4 here right at the bottom of the bands, giving us these pivot warnings and the trend being oversold there. So it's cool to see that that is happening still in this red box here. And to be honest, guys, this is one reason why I'm still a little hesitant to reopen a short position. is, like I said, there's just that chance that this level that should have, in my opinion, acted as resistance here, and we should have got shut down. We're still trading at that level, trying to hold it as support, because we did get above that level and now we came back to it. So we're not retesting it from the bottom side. We actually got above it and now we're trying to bounce on it. So yes, things are looking a little bit weak, but there is the potential that this box is now going to hold as that support flip. So I think I would be more interested in a short position at this point if we actually do break that downward sloping trend line that I was talking about earlier. And just to zoom out again, just zoom out to the hourly chart here. That's kind of the line that I was watching, just because, like I said, it had those 3 exact touch points. It had the 1 failed break, but yeah, it's been respected so well. Like I said, even on the 5-minute chart here, I mean, just perfect wicks right to that line, and then just 1 failed 5-minute wick below it. So just a beautiful failed break. I bet I can even go to the 1 minute. I bet a 1-minute candle didn't even close below that level. Where are we? Right here. Okay, so we had we had about 3 minutes we spent under that trend line, but I'm not going to give that too much weight because obviously a 1-minute chart's extremely degenerate. But yeah, like I said, even the 5-minute, the 15-minute, it was looking like a very clear failed break there. So things might not be too bad for Bitcoin right now. Like I said, if we drop that green line now, I think everything changes. But as it stands right now, I mean, we're just going to have to see what happens. There is the possibility, like I said, of some kind of a short snipe, kind of a short scalp at this level, but we're going to have to see how it lines up, what happens at those levels. I would also be interested in seeing what happens up here. If we end up just blasting through, maybe we get that failed break a little higher up here and we actually just can get some kind of a short position at a nicer, higher level then. Have to see what the indicators are looking like when we get to those levels. But yeah, as it stands right now, it does look like things are flipping a little bit bearish. Again, this is just the 5-minute, but things do look a little weak right now. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Does anyone else have any other questions about the indicators or anything? I know I have made a couple videos where I was a little more in depth with the latest updates, so be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't yet. If you haven't seen my channel, this is it, StuTube Trading, all one word. But I do have these indicator videos where I was really breaking down all the features, all the updates and that kind of thing. But since a lot of the people in here are returning guests, you guys have been in my other streams before, I don't want to bore you with going over everything in depth for half an hour again on those. So, but if you have any questions at all, by all means ask and I will do my best to answer them. Just taking a look at the 4-hour chart here again. Just going to draw out that same kind of support line. Something like that. Looks a little bit different on this chart. I guess this is the Bitstamp chart, but very similar. Again, this diagonal support is kind of lining up with that horizontal level too. That may be flipping from resistance to support. So there is a little bit of confluence at that level. Like I said, the 4-hour moving average on the ALGO 3 is also still trying to support the price. Obviously, it's having a hard time right now, but it is trying. And like I said, these other indicators, the oscillator 4 and 5, are both kind of in no man's land right now. Hourly chart, RSI definitely has room that it could be going down a little more. The hourly, we are getting a short signal. I don't, like I said earlier, I don't have the trend confluence on here. Actually, that's something I'm going to do right now. I will add a 4-hour trend confluence to my chart here. So even though we're on the hourly chart, the moving average is going to be based on the 4 hours. So that's very cool. That's like, yeah, that's just my favorite thing of these indicators. I think that's such a powerful feature. I absolutely love it. Oscillator 4 and oscillator 5 also not giving too much right now. I mean, the oscillator 4 is getting near the bottom of the bands, so we might see some kind of a pivot or oversold conditions fairly soon. And the oscillator 5, yeah, not really anything right now. We did have this hidden bullish divergence, which led us to that little fake out pump to the upside. But you can see that there's a little bit of mixed signals right now, because, I mean, we have the Stotch RSI giving us a lot of bearish divergences while we're trading sideways on this little range here. So, yeah. Basically, what you want to do is obviously get as much confluence as you can before entering a trade. So this looks pretty up in the air for me right now on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour. I wouldn't really be too interested in taking a position right there. Although we do have this moving average now from the 4 hour that is just above the price. So that could act as resistance. But again, we just don't have a ton of confluence there right now. So just kind of waiting that one out. I'm usually more of a degenerate, and I scalp my entries on the 5 minute anyways. I still like to know what the other time frames are doing, and that's just, again, why I absolutely love having that hourly trend confluence, just so that you can see what a more reasonable time frame like an hourly chart is up to, and kind of the direction that it's heading. And then really zooming into those 5 minute, 3 minute, 1 minute charts, whatever you prefer to enter on, and just zooming right in and adding that with your confluence, it can be a very powerful thing. Just going to see if there is any trade that it would have suggested to be open at this point. I assume... Where did we enter here? Oh, yeah. So obviously all 3 of those take profits were hit beautifully. Yeah, that's just wonderful to see. I mean, you can see right where it would have entered was right here. I mean, very quickly hit all 3 of its targets and absolutely blew up from there. So yes, it's, you know, you wouldn't have caught the whole move if you set all your take profits at that point. But yeah, beautiful 3 profits hit. I always love to see that with the indicator. And if you did have a little bit running from there, I mean, it just did an even better job calling the take profit right at the top. So absolutely beautiful. I'm just loving these indicators. CME will open at 17,035. I haven't really been following the CME. I'll have to take your word for that. Just taking a look at the DXY. I like to look at this during our streams too. For those of you who have tuned into a lot of my streams in the past, we just absolutely nailed that prediction of thinking the DXY would top out at that level. I know I've said it many times, but yeah, there's a lot of data on this chart for the US dollar here. This channel here, upward sloping channel, goes back about 10 years. And this Fibonacci pull actually goes back 20 years. So there is a ton of data on this chart. These are all monthly candles. Absolutely huge. And to see it just perfectly, once again, you guys know, I even in this video, I was already spitting out that I just love the 786 and 886 Fibonacci's and how well they get respected in the markets so often. I mean, that's bang on the pocket on this 20-year time frame where the DXY ended up topping out. And I remember I was speaking with a friend about this and just talking about how, you know, I think the DXY is actually about to reverse here. And unfortunately, with the whole FTX debacle, this never gave crypto the push that I was really hoping that it would. But it's still, you know, the market could be in a lot worse condition had the DXY just kept going parabolic to the upside there. But yeah, like I said, I was talking to a friend about this, saying that I thought we were about to reverse on the DXY, and he laughed at me, and he was like, the DXY is absolutely parabolic. It is not done yet. And I mean, this was just a bang on prediction there. So very cool. People who say that technical analysis doesn't work obviously just don't know how to do it, because it's crazy how so many different tools, so many different indicators, trend lines and everything, like everyone has different trade styles, different things they look at, but they can still make things work out in the charts that it just gets respected so beautifully. So very cool how that happens. And that's all just based off of reading people's emotions, really. When it comes down to it, it's people buying and selling based on their emotions, their greed and fear. So very cool. still has that long signal. I'm interested to see when this thing is going to give a short signal. I feel like it's only a matter of time, but we're going to have to see. I would like to see us bounce a little bit higher. I'm just going to clean things up a little bit. Yeah, I would like to see us at least get up to this yellow line here, just because I like to see some sort of a retrace. We already had this fairly sharp correction to the downside. I wouldn't want to short this late to the party at this point at these levels. I would like to see some kind of a relief rally and short at those levels. Again, if everything lines up at that time. That's going to be a little ways away here. And I'm probably only going to stick around for 5 to 10 more minutes. Like I said, I have been sick to my stomach all morning. I have not been feeling good today. I don't know what I ate last night, but it did not agree with me. So I don't see myself sticking around for 2 hours like normal here. Coming up on the hour here soon. So is there anything else anyone else wants to talk about? Sorry, I'll catch up on the chat here too. What do you do when the indicators contradict on different time frames? Sometimes depending how bad and what kind of an entry, what kind of a scalp or swing trade you're looking at, sometimes depending how the indicators are contradicting themselves on different time frames, sometimes it is good to just sit out. I mean, that's like I said, I don't want to take every long signal, every short signal. I like, quite honestly, you guys, usually when I am looking at charts, I was looking at this just a few hours ago before we had this pump here, and I saw this ALGO 3, the 1 hour trend confluence here, lining up perfectly with my own analysis, which is why I was quite confident that we were going to see a little bit of a pump off that level. So I actually didn't have the long or short signals activated on those features live on the indicators at the time. I like to do my own analysis and then bring up the indicators and bring different signals, and that goes for all these different features and signals. I like to bring them up after I've done my own analysis so that I know it's matching up with my own stuff. And the same would go for checking different time frames and that kind of thing, I guess is what I'm getting at is, if things aren't lining up very good and I feel like I'm flipping a coin rather than feeling confident about the position I'm in, then sometimes it's just better to sit off on the sidelines and just wait for something to actually grab your attention, and where, you just have a lot more confidence in your position. You feel like you don't have to worry about it. You can just set a stop loss, your take profits, and then walk away and not worry about it, not have to babysit it. But yeah, it's hard to do that when not everything lines up with your trade and you're second guessing yourself every few minutes. So hopefully that kind of helps answer your question. I believe there is going to be some more updates to the indicators as well soon, and I think later this month as well. And I believe there was talks of strong buy signals and strong sell signals. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but I feel like that would also factor in a lot more things like, factoring different time frames and different indicators, just different signals and everything, and kind of putting everything into one and just getting a stronger signal. I feel like different time frames is probably a part of that, because like you said, I mean, the indicators can absolutely contradict each other. If you go to the 5-minute chart, it could be telling you long. The 4 hour could be telling you short. So it all depends what kind of a position you're looking for. I mean, you can still scalp a long on the 5-minute if the 4 hour is bearish, as long as you're quick to take your profits as well. And honestly, guys, taking profits is probably the hardest thing you can do in trading. I know, as I was learning, and even still to this day, one of the hardest things to do is when you're in a winning position, to stop yourself from doubling down. And when you get that feeling that you want to double down, maybe it's actually a sign that you should be taking profits instead, or at least taking partial profits, updating stop losses and that kind of thing. So yeah, as far as time frames contradicting each other, I think it really depends what kind of a position you're looking for. How do you decide your take profit points? That would be, for one, this indicator does a hell of a job of really throwing take profits in your face. Like I said, it absolutely nailed the top here as a take profit, and as well showing just trend exhaustion there with the orange dots. So anytime, let's say I entered a position on the 5 minute here, if the indicator is going to say to take profits, there's a good chance I'm not going to close all of it, but I will make sure to at least close a part of my position, take some risk off the table if nothing else, but also just locking in a few bucks never hurts. But also just horizontal levels, your own analysis. If you have any potential resistance coming up ahead, just take partial profits, in my opinion. Like if you're in a long position here, for example, for this pump, it would absolutely make sense to, take some profits somewhere near the top of this structure back here, just because, you know what, even though we blew past it and we could have blown right past it way further, it's still just potential resistance there. So just to play that area safe right here would have been a great time to at least take partial positions. So yeah, when I decide where to take profits, it's quite often a mix between my own analysis and the indicator's analysis. Just looking at another potential resistance line, I bet this is going to be very accurate. So there again, that would have been an absolutely beautiful point to take profits, and the indicator actually lined up with that. And that's a perfect example of the indicator just giving you that confluence of a very important level of interest. Obviously, I actually wish I would have seen that, because before I just mapped that out right now, I mean, that could have been an absolutely beautiful short position. The fact that it was saying it was possibly overextended to the upside, trend was overbought, coming up to that resistance line, the take profit was flashing at us. I mean, as soon as we got this kind of, well, again, just a swing fail, right? I mean, we have our 1 touch point, 2 touch point bang on, and then we just have our little wick fake out with the red candle body close. Oh man, looking back, I'm actually pretty choked I missed that opportunity. I should have seen that one. I didn't see it until I was mapping that out for you guys, but obviously it is a little easier with Captain Hindsight, but I do love to extend lines past, if I have the markets giving me just a sign that, I really like to connect, just find 2 wicks, bang on, connect them, extend them, and quite often you will find a 3rd touch point along that trend line. So yeah, that played out absolutely perfectly. Wish I would have been a part of it, to be honest. Is there a way to set Bybit to take partial profits? Yes. You can either do, I think you can just do, I haven't been on Bybit in a little while. I think you can just do a limit order, but you can check a box that says close only. So you won't like, let's say your position gets stopped out and then you get to that level, it's not going to open up a short for you by accident or something like that. So you can, just set let's say you have an order, let's just say for simple math, you have a position size of 1,000 open. You want to close half of it at a whatever level. Let's say you took a position of 1,000 right here. You wanted to close 500 at this resistance here. So you just set a limit sell order with that box checked of close only or reduce position size only or something like that. There should be a box that you can check just so that you don't accidentally open another position. Or if you're actually watching, you're at the computer or on your phone or whatever, you can click onto your position and you can just, I think you can just select to close part of your position, and then you can select an amount or a percentage or whatever. I think there's a few different ways you can do it. You can set, what are they? Stop limit positions. Yeah. I think the easiest way is to just do a limit order with the reduce box checked. All right, guys, we have been going for about an hour here. If anyone has any last minute questions, by all means, shoot. If not, I'm going to wrap up the stream, but I will hang out. And if anyone wants to hop on voice at that time or just chat in the box, whatever, I'll still stick around while I'm uploading stuff and that sort of thing. I'll just be a little distracted. But other than that, I will be around. But yeah, I'll just give you guys one more minute here. If no one has any further questions or requests, any insights that you guys have or want to share, like you guys can even share your screen if you want. If anyone wants to get right in here, by all means, feel free. And for anyone who's not on the live stream right now, who has just been able to watch this on my YouTube channel, again, for anyone in the stream here who hasn't subscribed to my channel, be sure to do so. StuTube Trading. Anyone who isn't in this stream live right now, and you do appreciate the fact that I'm sharing these with you guys and giving you the insight, taking a look at the indicators and all that kind of thing, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. With that, I think that's about all I wanted to go over with you guys today. So I'm going to wrap up the stream. But like I said, I'll stick around for a little bit. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Have a good rest of your weekend. Peace.